Sheila Grier. Thank you, Sheila, for joining me.
Hello there, Ian. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you very much. And how are you? We were just discussing lockdown before we were live, weren't we?
Yeah. It's it's been a very it's been hellish in so many ways, but in a personal level, I think a lot of good has come out of it as well. I think. Yeah, I think maybe reappraising life a wee bit and stuff,
I absolutely do. I think a lot of us have had that as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we hate it. We don't want it to ever happen again, but there's been positive things that have come from it, haven't there?
I mean, a lot of negatives and a lot of positives, but very, very surreal for everybody. But, I count myself as extremely lucky to... all of us, my daughter, my husband, and I did have COVID at Christmas, but we were lucky. I just think there's so many people out there who are really, really going to suffer from this. So yeah, I would count myself as one of the lucky ones, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm so glad you got over it. How did you feel with COVID? If you don't mind asking.
I probably got it the worst. I think I have long COVID now. I when I got my vaccine in March, it triggered a lot again, but I do get tired very easily, and I've still got kind of a bit of a brain fog and stuff like that. So I think there'll be a lot of interesting stuff coming out of this, because this is all new for everybody. So I think there'll be a lot of studies about long COVID and things. But fortunately, I wasn't hospitalized or anything, and you hear horror stories. So yeah, no, it was okay. It was okay.
Good, and you've also got, but we're going to say this to the end, but you've got some work that I'm dying to be nosy about and talk to you about, but we'll save the best till last.
No worries.
Because now, if you're ready for the first question, because I'm going to take you right back to the beginning, and what are you drinking again, sorry?
Water.
Oh, water, yes, so am I. Well, why not? We had Gabby Glacier on once, drinking wine, I think it was, and we've had Justine Kerrigan on with a bottle of beer, so you drink away. Yeah. But I'm just boring, I'm afraid. I'm just on the boring old water. To keep me ahead.
No, good for you. I should be as well, but you might get more out of me than you thought you would.
Yeah, no, well, there you go. No, you drink away, enjoy yourself. Well, are you ready for your first question to go back in time?
Okie dokie.
Okie dokie, right, okay. Well, question one. And first of all, I must also say thank you very much for agreeing to this. Much appreciated.
No, it's okay. Absolutely. Okay. What else am I going to do with my night?
Right. Okay, then. Right, well, number one, going back to your early TV career, as you'd had parts in Take the High Road, Odd Job Man, and End of Line, which were all in 1983.
Yeah.
But in 1984 was a very big year for you, as prior to joining the cast of Brookside, you toured with the theatre and landed a big children's TV presenting role. So I'd be interested to hear about that.
Yeah, I trained as a drama teacher, graduated in 1980, did the pantos, did this, did that, got little jobs in telly. And then early in 84, toured with this. Tom McGrath was a very famous Scottish playwright, and so that was amazing, main theatres in Scotland. And then it was called the Untied Shoelaces Show, and it was very early live children's presenting. Wow. And the interesting about that era is, to this day, most of the children's television comes out of Scotland and BBC Glasgow. Anyway, we went out live every day. We rehearsed in the afternoon, went out live the following morning. Mental, but it was brilliant fun, because I love kids, and I trained as a drama teacher, although I always wanted to be an actor. And so I was filming that when I got, now in those days you didn't have a phone, you didn't have an answer machine, so you were at home or you were not home to get a call. And I was going for the weekend at Glasgow Fair, and the phone rang, and it was my agent at that time, who was an old fuddy, and she said, I think they want you to go to Liverpool tomorrow to audition for a thing called Brookside. And I remember going, Brookside? And at the back of my mind, I had seen little bits of it on Saturdays, the omnibus thing on Saturday. And I went, oh, right. So I got on this train from Glasgow Central to Liverpool Line Street, came out, got in a taxi. To this day, I still remember this. and said in my Glasgow voice, could you take me to Brookside Close in West Derby? And the guy went, Kenny Dalglish, Kenny Dalglish, Kenny Dalglish, Kenny Dalglish, Kenny Dalglish. And the whole journey was all about Kenny Dalglish. And that was it. And I remember being driven in this cab into Brookside Close, went back the following week. And then a very, very unusual thing, and it's the only time in my career this has happened, and it's extremely unusual as an actor.
Yes.
We got a phone call to go back for a final audition, and we were told on the Saturday that we would be told there and then who'd been picked.
Wow.
And if we didn't feel good about that, we didn't have to go, if you see what I mean.
Yes.
So I remember on that Saturday, nearly missed the train from Glasgow Central.
Oh.
Last second got on the train, went in. David Easter was there, Sharon was there, other people were there. They kept mixing us about, etc., etc. And bearing in mind, this had all happened in 10 days. And then Phil came in at the end and just said, right, Sheila Grier, David Easter, Sharon Rosita, you've got the parts. And then I had to get in a train back to Glasgow with 3 other Scots actresses. Oh my God, that was horrible. And I started 10 days later, and that was it. So you had mentioned about being recognised. I mean, there you were, and 5 weeks after that, I started being on the telly, and it's mental. I still think it's incredible how that can happen so quickly to somebody, you know. But so that was kind of that story, and then went back and finished doing this children's presenting thing, and then there I was in Brookside.
Wow.
Yeah.
You never look back.
I never looked back. And the other thing I remember about the summer of '84 was it was really warm from April right through to the October. I just remember that. And we'd all be sitting out the back of the canteen, and it was scorching weather, and it was strange. It was amazing time. Yeah.
Well, we first saw you in September 1984, didn't we? So I just wondered, can you recall, because I think that's my next question, can you remember your very first scene and day on set? Because I can imagine that must have been good.
Yeah.
I liked your come back to Damon. He was, oh, you're a nurse. And you said something funny.
I know. We had arrived on the Monday on the set, and we had that's where a lot of the photos you post and stuff, they were all taken that first day. Oh. And we were to be filming on the Wednesday, so they had to get costumes and everything organised. And I always remember one of the most sweetest things was Bill Dean, who played Harry Cross, was the loveliest man in real life. I mean, he was just a doll of a guy, but he loved to pretend he was a grumpy old git. And I remember coming on, he went, oh, you're the wee Scottish something sweary word, blah, 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 blah. And I remember being really, really terrified and thinking, oh my God. And I just remember Anna Keaveney, God bless her, who's no longer
she was great. Marie Jackson, yes.
Yeah, brilliant actress. She just went, don't mind him, he's always like that. He's going to love you to bits. You're a wee girl, he's going to love you to bits, blah, blah, blah. So, of course, our first scene were with
was it Betty Albert or something?
Yeah.
And Bill Dean, because he was quite funny, because he thought Pat was a man, didn't he, at first?
That's right.
Was a woman, sorry.
Yeah, that's right. And she was a wee bit doolally by that stage already, if you know what I mean, in real life, and lovely lady. But so actually, it was quite difficult to do the scenes, to get through them. And of course, Sharon, at that stage, I'd had little bits of telly, but David and I had really not done telly. But Sharon had obviously come hot off of being in Angels and was very familiar with all that side of the business.
Yeah.
And I just remember winging it in a way and just, going, because I still thought I'm going to get found out in a way, but we got there, and of course, like Sheila Harron and Simon, they were all just so lovely. I think that's the thing, and the crews and everybody was so welcoming. It didn't feel like a Ponzi place to be working at all, because so many of them, the crew and everything, were local people, and they were just, it was lovely. It was really, really good.
Great. Yeah. Happy memories.
Yeah.
Well, because many of your scenes that we're discussing, of course, were with David Easter and Sharon Rossiter. So I imagine, obviously, with the three of you must have bonded. You must have had quite a lot of fun as well, because you've had to get that chemistry that they're going before you. So obviously,
yeah. Yeah, it was quite interesting. The first couple of weeks we were in Liverpool, they actually put us up in a hotel because obviously it happened all so quickly, we couldn't just find somewhere to live right away.
Yeah.
Then, bizarrely, although it didn't last very long, the three of us ended up sharing in real life this house, this part of this house for about 5 weeks. I think if I remember, it was either in Walton or no, I can't remember. Fasakali, maybe. And but that was never going to work because you can't live like that and work together, you know.
Yeah, because you were kind of living on top of each other. Then you were going home together, you were working together.
It was good in the sense I loved the challenge of being able to work with as many of the cast as possible.
Yeah.
David is a darling guy, but you know, he was such a ladies' man, and Sharon was very serious, which I get because her character was, and she had more background in it all. But you probably, if I look back on it, I think we worked more with other actors in it than maybe it's remembered, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, because Brian Regan was quite involved in your scenes as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot with the young ones. There was a lot with Simon and Sheila, and there was a lot with Brian Regan, and there was a lot with Tracy Batchelor. Lovely, another one that's left us far too soon, Doreen Sloane's character, their family.
Annabelle,
and their children, and I think I think it was because it was the first time they'd not had a family, apart from Amanda's character, Heather.
Yeah.
We were the first non-family type, the three of us.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, you would be, yeah. I think
the writers got a lot of, right, well, that you could make a scene work with him going with them, or Sharon does that with them, or, I think there was an element of that quite early on. So, yeah. Yeah.
Well, one of the questions I'm always asked as well, I don't know if you know, but what happened to Sharon Rossiter? Do you remember? Do you know?
Well, she, as you know, was killed in the siege. And no, I don't. The rumours were that she stopped acting and went to live in Portugal. I know nothing about what happened to her. And I'm friendly with, we've got a Brookside alumni, and I'm, quite a few of the back people, like the directors and all that. And I'm still in touch with John McCardle and Mitty Stark and Justin Kerrigan.
Oh, wow.
But I don't know what happened to Sharon.
There was quite a few that have just sort of disappeared without trace. I know nobody's heard from Sheila O'Hara, have they, either?
No, I think I did hear that she walked away, and I think she went into, like, and correct me, I might be wrong about this, but I think I remember someone saying that she'd kind of gone into the antique business and stuff like that. But
I have heard that she started her own antique business. Yeah. So you're the second person that's told me that now. So it makes me think maybe
she was an extremely bright girl, Sheila. It wouldn't surprise me if she'd ended up getting a degree or something. Do you know what I mean?
Like her character, because her character stood up for it.
Yeah, it was very bright.
She wasn't really into this celeb scene, was she? I know a lot of, like, Paul Ushery doesn't really like to do interviews and stuff unless it's obligatory.
Yeah. And Simon's the same. I mean, Simon obviously still did presenting jobs and everything, but he really went down that whole green thing before it became a thing with whatever. So yeah, I think that that was another thing about Rookie. I think that in general, apart from maybe a few individuals, everybody was very grounded as an actor, and
there was I'm the star and I'm having a star.
That wasn't allowed to happen, and it soon became quite obvious if it did. So I think that was one thing, a big thing I would say about being in Brookie. And I think probably at that time too, because I laugh now when I see the soap awards and 15 soap magazines and all that. I mean, we would be in the front cover of a magazine once a year, or be invited. We did go to the BAFTAs and stuff and things like that. But you know, it wasn't like it is now.
Yeah, well, the whole industry's changed now, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And scenes were, looking back on those scenes as well, I've discussed this with the other actors as well, because I must be old school, because I love those old school scenes in Brookie, because scenes were slower, whereas now, like, it's a snap, snap, snap. Whereas, like, in your era, scenes were a lot more slower, a lot more character driven.
We had longer. Phil, and that's why people like Jimmy McGovern, you know, Phil had been a writer, as you know, with Green Shell and everything, and Phil was passionate about the writing. And, you know, when you think of the quality of the writers they had, so that was important. But we did, at that time, we only did 2 episodes a week, and that became the omnibus on a Saturday.
Yeah.
And then, you know, it just completely changed, and it was churning out episodes. The other thing I think that sadly has happened to the soaps is at that time, Corrie was what it did, Emmerdale was what it did, Brookie did what it did. I feel EastEnders came in a year after I joined in '85. EastEnders started, and I think we coached a lot what we did. They took that concept of lots of young kids, you know, lots of teenagers, because you could see that market for the first time. Teenagers were watching a soap because of the characters. But over the years, you know, even my mum, who was a lifelong Corrie fan, stopped watching Corrie because suddenly all the soaps, in my opinion, personally, have become one. Hollyoaks.
No, I do agree with you. I'm not putting them down, but I do feel I don't watch them anymore.
I'm not putting them down. I know how hard they work. I know how good they are as actors, but I just sometimes yearn for that time when you could define a soap better.
Yes, absolutely. And yeah, they've all kind of lost their identities, haven't they, really? I personally think.
A wee bit, I think, yeah.
Because yeah, like Coronation Street had loads of standout characters. I'm not saying they don't now, but I always remember the era of like Bet, Jack and Vera, you know, all those legendary characters of Corrie. And, you know,
the concept, I remember because EastEnders started when I was there, so let's take it out of the equation. If you took Brookside, Corrie and Emmerdale Farm at that time, the way it was thought of is that Corrie had always been character driven, and that was of that programme. Emmerdale was very much about the look, the whatever, and that outside kind of environment.
It was more about farming then, wasn't it? Emmerdale Farm. And
Brookie was about issues. And
getting cutting edge at the time, because it was very serious stuff at the time and quite hard hitting in many scenes.
Yeah, and so it was issue led and
groundbreaking for issues.
Groundbreaking. I mean, it did come from the characters as well. There's no doubt the longer you were in it, the writers then began to see where they could take your character because of what you were doing.
Yeah.
But it was the first to be to push issues.
Push the boundaries. Yeah. And also, there was another thing that I've discussed with all the actors as well that have been on about Brookside, was because, of course, in those days, I think in your era, you were all you had rehearsal time, didn't you?
We had rehearsal time.
Good. Which they don't do anymore, do they? You're just supposed to stay on set, learn your lines.
Good rehearsal time. You know, when I look back in that, you'd have a new episode, and you might be filming that episode, another episode, but then you would be rehearsing that episode, if you see what I mean. And
confusing as well at times.
I mean, when I think back on that, time is money now. You would never ever get that now. No. Never. And
I think it shows as well, because I always thought Brookside was so polished. I mean, the thing was, it was always so naturalistic as well. I liked it. Was like somebody had just like put a camera on the wall, and we were just watching how normal people, like your characters, were living day to day.
Yes,
rather than these big storylines all the time.
Very much so. But what I really like too is that for me, there's often with some films and directors and whatever, that the way I see it as an actor is there's a balance between it being natural because somebody plays himself and it's almost like a documentary.
Yes.
Or natural in the sense that you have quality actors like Sue Johnston who make you believe. you know, would make you believe that she was just this wee housewife and trying to get on with her life. But you knew she was a bloody good actress. Do you see what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that also goes down to the quality of the writing and the directing. We had some brilliant directors. So, and
most like you said. Well, he was the writer, sorry, wasn't he? Yeah.
So, and also that aside of things, so many people that work there have become massive. I mean, Ken Horn is now produces Line of Duty, and Mal Young became a huge, and a lot of the directors. So, yeah, it was a lot of good came out of that.
Yeah, and it was a great time. I mean, I think this is what the next question is, actually. It's oh, no. I was just about to talk about the season, but that's question 5. So I'll go to question 4 first, because we didn't go into this one before, but this is, I'm sure you've got some interesting stories about this, because I ask all the actors that come on now, because after your first Brookside episode aired, I imagine that that's when you suddenly started getting recognised. So I just wondered, can you remember the public's reaction to the characters? And how did you cope with that transition of suddenly being recognised in the streets? Did you enjoy it, or did you find it?
I've got 3 quick stories about that. One of them is my sister is called Sandra. And so I can remember quite early doors being back in Glasgow, and just like Scousers, you can imagine what Glaswegians are like. So we were walking down a street in Glasgow city centre, and they're all going, hey Sand, and my sister, Sandra, and my sister's going, hey.
No, it's you.
Yeah. And then I remember being one of my closest school girlfriends who I'd known since I was 5, and she was living in York at this time, and she is a polar opposite of me, and was a teacher, and would just run a mile from anything like that. Yeah. And we were little narrow street in York, and we were looking in the shop window, and suddenly there was this massive crowd of people around me wanting an autograph.
Oh wow.
And I turned around and she'd run up the street because she'd just been caught. She went,
but it's not for you.
Then the other one that always stays with me, which is to do with the siege, and I smoked in those days, and I remember the siege episode, one of the episodes was on.
Yeah.
And where I lived, there was a wee, you know, like there was in those days, your wee garage, you went got your fags, right? And I went running in, because I'd run out of cigarettes, to get 20 silk cut. And I can still remember the wee lassie behind the counter, her jaw just dropped. And she went, did you escape? Did you escape? And I went, what? And she went,
it's scary how people think this is real as well.
And I went, no, this is me.
No, I'm an actress, really.
Yeah,
so... Did you ever have fan mail as such, where they... Because I can imagine quite a few people confuse, you know, Sheila Grier with Sandra, the character.
I mean, I think the thing I got back to what I said earlier about, you know, how in those days you'd be in a front cover once in a year. You know, when I look back in that era, no social media whatsoever. No. And in many ways, I'm glad. Do you know what I mean? I'm glad I was kind of at that time.
Yeah.
So, you go into the PR office, and lovely Janice would go, oh, there's your bag of mail or whatever. So you did, well, I did. I would diligently reply to everybody, and you'd sign a wee picture and you'd send it off. So it was all quite innocent, and it was all quite contained.
Yes.
Do you understand what I mean?
Yes.
So I wouldn't necessarily like to suddenly become famous overnight now, kind of thing. Which, you know, just say, for example, you take to young actors that did Normal People, or you take the Bridgerton crowd, or you take, you know, there was early 20s, mid 20s people who've just suddenly overnight. I think you need to have really grounded people around you, and a really good people behind you that are just saying, just calm down, it's fine, this is just the telly, blah, 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 you know.
Keep your feet on the ground kind of thing.
Yeah, my dad was a publican, and my parents, you know, that kind of background, and nobody in my family had been in the business. And I always remember when I graduated from drama school, my dad said, I know nothing about your industry, but I'm going to tell you this, treat everybody the same in the way up, because you'll meet them in the way down.
Yeah,
and I remember
that advice. Not that I've ever been on the way up, though.
In general, you know, don't take yourself. And I think because I'd never had masses of theatre, film industry, telly people as good friends.
Yes.
They're colleagues and I get on with them.
Yeah.
But close friends are not in the business, so, and my husband's not or anything, so I think that kept me very grounded. So I hope it did. I hope it did.
Of course it did.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. I hate that whole lovey thing. I really do.
No, I can imagine. Yeah, I can imagine that. Okay, well, for question 5, because this is not the Siege, this is a different one, because one of the fun things looking back at those old episodes of Brookside is spotting future TV faces. Like one of them being Melandra Burrows, who was complete with a Scouse accent, who played Sandra's mates in a few episodes before she headed off to the Dales to Emmerdale Farm.
Yeah.
So remember that?
You know, it sounds terrible to say this, but because she played David's girlfriend,
yes,
I didn't really have a lot of scenes with her. I
just remember you both being in a bar, I thought.
Yeah, I do have memories of that. I don't know why it doesn't stick in my head.
Because I remember that Sharon Rosita's character was supposed to come into this bar, and then the man was actually racist and basically was trying to say, no, you're not coming in. Right. And that was quite an issue back then, wasn't it?
That's right, yeah, and I do remember that. I mean, I remember the weird thing is I really remember Melandra being in Emmerdale Farm. You know, I remember
Kathy.
That. But maybe it was just because it was such a whirlwind in the early days, because that was quite early on, I think, when I was in it.
Yeah, early 85, I think that was.
Was it 85? Yeah, well, I mean, in fairness, yeah, it wasn't that far into it then, I suppose. Yeah, I don't. And then, obviously, you know, people like Ricky and Sue, Amanda, whatever. But I and John was there when I was in it, and Kate Fitzgerald was in it.
Brilliant, yeah.
But people like Anna Friel, who really became big, they were all in after I left.
Yeah.
There
was Derek Thompson. I don't know if you can remember him turning. Oh no, I think it might have been just before your time. That was early 84. Actually, he came in as Amanda Burton's ex-boyfriend just before he'd gone into Casualty. I mean, he'd already done The Gentle Touch.
Oh,
yeah. So that's what I mean about familiar TV faces. And then there was what's his name? He played Marie Jackson's dad. It was about 9 months before he came. Ian Hendry, I think it was.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, he was in it at the beginning of 84, about that time.
But you know, when you think of Sue and Ricky and Anna Keaveney and Kate Fitzgerald and John McCardle and you know, Doreen, and just Bill, who had such a backstory as well. God, I now start thinking of all these people and I'll not remember their names now. Loads. Yeah, I ended up working with him in a Waitrose Christmas advert 3 years ago. He was in the early days of Brookie. I can't remember his name, doesn't matter.
You'll remember in a minute. It's horrible when you need to remember somebody. I'll come back to you, I bet you, when we're off there as well.
I will.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was a stellar cast in those days, wasn't it? Vintage Brookie.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I know lots of people are dying to hear about this because one of the biggest stories in Brookside's 21-year history, and it's one everyone remembers, is the Big Siege story, where the deranged gunman, played by Robert Pugh, held Sandra Platt and Kate hostage in their own home as he wrongly blamed them for the death of his mother. And that went on for quite a while. So can you remember how long it was that you were filming all those scenes? And your thoughts on that story?
You know, it's funny, when we got the scripts, and there was quite a lot of rumours going around that this concept had come up, we were so excited because I think a lot of them were really envious because we were being given this incredible storyline.
Yeah, I think that's what really helped boost Brookside.
It did. I always remember the day Bill came in and said that's us reached 8 million, and it was an amazingly gobsmacking thing.
Because it was a minority channel, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah, and that. But I always remember thinking, if this is going to work, they have to have a brilliant actor playing John.
Yes. Because
it could be a real farce. It could become a bit, oh God, over the top, and people going, there's no no way that could have happened and all that.
Overacted and stuff.
Yeah, you know, just the concept of it, you know.
Yeah.
And so we obviously filmed with John, Robert Pugh, for the first time at the fair when we meet him.
Yes, that was the very first scene. That's where it all started, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I had been and still am a massive fan of Anthony Hopkins.
Oh wow, that's brilliant. I follow him on Twitter.
Yeah, and I remember he walked on and introduced himself, and I got the shiver down my back and went, "Oh my God, he reminds me of Anthony Hopkins. I think he's going to be absolutely amazing." And I mean, he's a huge star now, but he wasn't really known at that time.
No.
It was a big theatre actor, but I don't think he'd done an awful lot, and correct me if I'm wrong. And so we did those scenes at the park that day, and I thought, this is going to be so exciting. Yeah. And I remember I sat down with the writers like Jimmy McGovern and with the directors like Pete Russell and stuff, and I said things like, I want to play this as real as I can. I am not going to, we filmed for 3 weeks, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to wash my hair. You're not going to wash my yellow dungaree thing. I'm not wearing makeup. I want this to be as real as possible if we really want this to work. And of course, what was amazing too was we were in this little house, you know, with crews,
yeah,
and all the lights and all the stuff that went on, and it was really hot weather, and it was like June, July time, and it was very oppressive and very real. But it was because of Robert more than anything. He just terrified us. He was
scary, very disturbing as well, wasn't he? Yeah.
And yet in real life, it's just this such a lovely guy.
Teddy bear.
Yes, and so, oh my God, it was. I think I don't know if I could have done it now, but you're 26. You know, you're kind of got all the energy in the world, and so exciting. It was so exciting.
Yeah, and it was a great start. I mean, you had some really good scenes in there. I don't know if you remember, there's one part where Sandra was sort of kind of because he wanted you, the character John, he wanted the Pat, Sandra, and Kate to talk about him as though he wasn't in the other room. I don't know if you can remember. And then you really were goading him to try and get him to lose his temper. And at that point, I remember he grabbed you, pulled your hair backwards, and called you a cow and stuff. And it was like, oh my God, I think he's going to shoot her. There was a few times where I thought, oh my God, he's going to blow their heads off.
We really went for stuff. And I mean, I have a very clear memory too, when he ended up taking us upstairs.
Yeah.
It was proper duct tape. We were genuinely taped up with duct tape. Oh. And all these things, like, it makes me laugh because now it would be, oh no, in the woke life we live in now, you know, in the business, there's no way that would be allowed to happen. No. And a lot of stuff we did, they'd need a stage director to come in, and there would need to be health and safety there. And so it wouldn't have, I don't think, been as good now because of all of that.
Yeah. Because I remember there was the very first episode, Ricky Tomlinson was, it looked really real as well, obviously, because he was whacking Simon O'Brien, Dame, in the show, round the back of the head, and you could really hear it. And Simon O'Brien, he was actually on an interview saying, he was really hurting because he had to do that take about 4 times, and Ricky was really going for it because they wanted it to be realistic, but I don't know what happened now, would it?
No, absolutely no. Because
it was a shame that Sharon Rossiter's character, by the way, got killed off as well. Did she decide to leave, or?
I don't know what happened there, and I genuinely don't. And I think I always thought it was a bit wrong in the sense that, you know, this is early days when people of colour were not being represented playing soaps, and so there was quite a lot of negativity that why was it her character? Yeah. They'd obviously decided that they were going to push the storyline in another direction. So, yeah, I think, and because we had to keep so quiet about it all, I think a lot of people were quite shocked.
It was a shocking episode, yeah.
I often wondered if it would have been better if they'd had her seriously ill. That they could have dragged that storyline out for quite a while and intensified that. But anyway, I'm not privy to why they decided to do that. it was quite emotional having to go through it all, you know, and then the scenes
Because
after.
you started together, and then yeah, she was leaving and stuff. So it was upsetting.
Yeah. So yeah, it was, and I think nowadays I find so many people will say to me that was when they started really watching Brookie,
You know, a lot
because
of people say that to me. Now, I said, oh, I started watching because of The Siege. That's when I got into it.
Yeah, a lot of people have said that, and that's the ones that were born then.
Yes,
Do you know
of
what I mean?
course. And it was that popular because the episode, because I don't know if you remember, but about 10 years ago, to celebrate the 30th anniversary of Brookside, they did a DVD called Brookside Memorable Moments. And the public got to vote which episodes they'd like to see. And yours, the Siege one, was part of that. I don't know if you remember that.
No, I didn't know that, but I would have assumed it would be things like that, the body under the patio, the lesbian kiss, you know, those kind of iconic moments. I could kind of guess.
Can you remember the press reaction to the story? Can you remember that? Because I don't know if it was the same as it is now. Like, you know, you get TV reviews the next day in the paper or no?
Oh, I think it was overlooked a lot. I think that I don't.
Channel 4?
I don't know. Do you know the interesting thing is, the media adored Brookie. And I mean that from like the point of view, it opened a lot of doors because, you know, the people in the industry loved it because it was different and stuff. But maybe it was just too far-fetched. I don't know. People thought that.
I liked it. It was very good. You couldn't say it was far-fetched because of the way you played it out. The way
I think it could genuinely have happened, and I think that it's significant over the years since God knows so many programs have had Siege, you know, Siege stories like beats. There's always Siege, and I don't know if but I think he may have been to do something like that, have a siege in a normal environment. You know, it's not about, you know, the shootout and this and that and, you know, all the baddies and the cop. You know, no, it was just, I don't know, it was just,
I really honestly think, well, a lot of people, as you've said, it helped put Brookside really on the map because Channel 4 was still relatively new then. It was still considered a minorities channel, wasn't it?
Well, it was only 3 years. Brookie was only 3 years old.
Yeah, so it was all
started in November '82 when Channel 4 started. So my clear memory is this cock a hoop that we had got to 8 million viewers, and I think before the Siege, maybe 4 was seen as a really, really good figure. And you know, in this day and age, with young people off on their phones and everything and not really watching mainstream, and the amount of people don't watch poor man's television, as I call it nowadays, 8 million nowadays would actually be seen as quite a strong figure.
Definitely. I mean, I read Corrie's ratings, not that they've, because Corrie's pulls it about, I think it was 4.9 million, which is like going from 20 million, but obviously it's because the whole, as you said, the industry's changed. We've got so many channels now, and viewing habits have changed as well, haven't they?
Yeah.
Because I rarely watch live TV. I end up box sets and then watching them at night. Very rarely.
You've got your iPlayers and your stuff, and you don't fret about missing the program. But I think the genius, other thing that Brookie did very early on from the beginning, I think it was the beginning, is they were the first to do an omnibus. So what happened was, it was that cracker of a slot, 5 o'clock on a Saturday, when you'd had the sport on in the afternoon, the lads had been watching their footy and stuff, and then they would tune into Brookside. And that was when I remember occasionally seeing it, you know, that way. Yeah. Not on a Tuesday night or a Thursday night at 8 o'clock.
Same as you, it was a Saturday.
And then they all started doing omnibuses, do you know, because they saw the beauty.
And then Corrie. Yeah,
because the beauty of that was to get extra, you know, get that without having to, you know, for the same filming and the same whatever you'd done, you were getting a second.
Oh, of course, because of the omnibus. So that was great. So Brookside was pioneering in that respect as well.
Yeah, Brookie was. I think
Sheila,
was. I mean, I don't want to make the facts wrong here, but I'm okay.
Oh yeah, you're back on now. It's all right. You just froze for a moment then. Now, can you see me now?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're back on. Oh, phew. I thought, oh, no, we've been going so brilliantly. Don't start now. You're back. Sorry,
Good.
folks. False alarm. I panic when these things happen, you see.
I know. I tell you, I'm in my bedroom upstairs, and the internet is not the best in this room, but it's the best for light and the quiet, and it's the quietest room. So just keep on top of things if you think it's going to go a bit dodgy again.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's mine. I remember, oh, it was awful. I had Gabby Glaister on and Stephen Pinder, and after half an hour, my whole Zoom just crashed, and I was gutted. And then Stephen had to finish anyway, so we still haven't completed that interview yet. So that's hopefully to be continued. But we've had a few mishaps. But you're back now. My heart was racing then. It was like, no, don't go, not yet. We haven't got the questions through yet. Yeah. Well, funnily enough, because we were talking about this, still on the subject of the seed, I know you've spoken a little bit about him, but obviously what we were saying before, Robert Pugh was excellent as the gunman, and he was genuinely scary and disturbing in many parts. But obviously behind the scenes, being such a great actor, I imagine he was great to work with.
He was, and he was very generous. You know, he was a true actor in the sense that he never hogged the scene, because his character could easily have hogged the scene.
Yes.
But very generous. And he had an ability to just switch it on. I mean, he was just, I don't know, there was just something about him that just, you know, it's that kind of
edge on screen, doesn't he?
Well, it was the way I remember saying to somebody once, it's a bit like with Jack Nicholson in The Shining with that "Here's Johnny" thing, you know.
Yeah, and it does remind me a bit. Okay,
scene 5, take 3, and action. And he would just go like that, and you'd go, bloody hell.
And then, of course, when the camera stopped, we were all giggling afterwards, after he just like literally pulled your hair backwards and stuff. Yeah. We were all giggling afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, I think we tried not to get out of it too much, because
try not to break out the zone.
No, you had to really keep a momentum going. But yeah, you know, he would just unswitch again.
Great actor.
Yeah, he was really good. He was really, really good. Yeah, it was. I
know he's done lots of other things. He's well known for lots of other things, but every time I see his face, still to this day, I always think Brookside immediately. The gunman, Brookside.
Because I think because he has a look that he looked older than his years at that time, because he would have not have been that old then. I think sometimes when you get an actor who is older than their years, they don't age, if you understand what I mean by that.
Yes.
So although he's obviously grey, probably quite grey-haired now and stuff, I still think he's got quite a baby face, Robert, you know. But I think he's a tremendous actor, and I'm very privileged to have worked with him. So, yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay. Yeah. Well, next one is, because towards the end of your time on Brookside, and in fact, the same episode in which Sheila Grant was raped, we saw a darker side to Pat, played by David Easter, during an argument he was having with Sandra, and he actually hit her, pushed her to the floor in the heat of the moment. And that was a powerful scene. I mean, did you, I imagine you enjoyed those hard-hitting scenes. Can you remember that scene?
Well, funnily enough, before Sheila's very, very important rape story, which she was brilliant, and I actually had a storyline quite early on when I was in it, where I was attempted to rape on me in a car park, and I think it was Alderhay Hospital we filmed it in. And I remember it was the middle of the night we filmed it, and you know, everybody was going for it and everything. So that was a taster in a way to an early taster to that. Yeah, we really went for it. I actually was kind of hurt, and I did end up physically getting bit battered and bruised.
Really?
But that was partly my decision. Do you understand what I mean? I'm not saying for a moment that was pushed or anything, because I just wanted it to be real.
Yeah.
And David was so like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. I'm really sorry, kind of thing. But I actually needed it to be as forceful as that. And I'm not really a method actor, do you know what I mean? But I just felt Brookie was always so true that you had to kind of go for it a wee bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he
And
got accused of the rape for a while, didn't he, Pat? I don't know if you
yes,
remember
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and I think they needed to do that to David's character. I think Pat needed to have another side to him because he couldn't be the happy-go-lucky guy forever.
No, and I always find the friendliest people are normally can be the nastiest as well.
Yes, yeah. So I think that needed to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, so yeah, I remember that stuff being quite, in many ways, harder to do than the siege.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was a horrible feeling to think that these things were happening to you. I remember Sue always said that, but the rape stuff, you know, not nice to have to do the storylines, but you know why you're doing them in a way as well. And I think the thing too, because Sandra, you know, at the very early storylines, you know that she had left Glasgow to come down because she got out of an abusive marriage. So I think that...
And he turned up at one point, didn't he, I think?
Yeah. And
yeah.
I think,
Oh, yeah, it's coming back to me now. I haven't seen those episodes, Rob, but I do remember the ex-husband coming back.
Yeah, so I think that it was a pattern developing again. So that was true to, you know, very true to, sadly.
And that's actually rings true then, because she got rid of Pat. Was it because of the violence that she got rid of Pat? I haven't seen those scenes for a while.
Yeah, I think she just realised, I think that she, and I think what a lot of people have said to me that they loved about my character was she, and I loved, was she was a very feminist, strong character.
Yeah, and I liked her feistiness. She said it how it was.
Yeah, she rubbed people up the wrong way, and you know, she wasn't a girly girl in it, but so you couldn't have her tolerate that, because then it would make alive everything her character was meant to be. So you know, it was obvious that was the way that had to go.
You've just reminded me actually a bit about the feminist part. There was a character, I don't know if it was Kate or somebody, was a friend of Sandra's was dressing as she was going around like a kissogram or something, and Sandra was really appalled by it.
Was that not Melandra's character? Was that?
Oh, was it Melandra? Oh, right. Okay, I'm getting mixed up.
No, I might be wrong.
Oh no, I don't know. I just remember there was a character that came in, and she was going around to kissograms, which was organised by Pat or something, and Sandra was just...
No. Yeah. I don't know if it was Melandra now when I think about it. Yeah, that's right. And she was furious about that. That's right. I've forgotten that. Yeah.
I'm going to have to go and check now who that actress was. I'm just going to bug me now.
I can kind of see her face, I think.
Well, actually, if you ever want to know who the actors are, because this is how I find all the episodes out, because everybody said, oh, you must have all the episodes at home. And I'm like, no. There's whoever put it together must have been really a seriously dedicated Brookside fan, because it's got a Brookside episode guide, every single episode, a synopsis, and then you've got like who the character, what cast were in that episode and stuff. And
wow.
That's made my job so much easier.
Is it kind of like a Wikipedia type thing then? It's sort of just a...
No, it was actually put together. It's called, I think it's brooksidessoap.co. I'll send it you in the email or on Facebook. But if you go on there, it's season by season. It'll tell you which transmission dates are on, what the number episodes were on. And then right at the bottom, you've got all the cast and what episode numbers you were in. It's absolutely, I call it my Brookside Bible.
Wow.
That's how I get all the clips.
That must have been a serious fan of the programme.
Yeah. Really cute. I mean, it's obviously like just short of 3,000 episodes in total over the 21 years. So I'm like, oh God, okay. And people sometimes say, oh yeah, because apparently Sheila Ferguson from the 3 Degrees was in one episode in 1991.
And so was Russell Grant. Remember, he was in
he was in the your era, wasn't he?
Well, the laugh is that around that time when you did do, I've still got clips from magazines and stuff. It's sort of thing about sort of media and the love. Elton John apparently was a massive fan.
And Morrissey
and Graham Norton was a massive fan.
Fans.
Yeah, and so there was a lot of them that were. Boy George, I think, was a massive fan. I think a lot of them were big Brookie fans. That kind of 80s time, I think.
Yeah. It reminded me as well, Paulie Yates, the late Paulie Yates. Yeah, she was in there.
Yes. And I know, I remember that a lot of them, we used to have this thing about a lot of them would want to agree to be in an episode.
Yeah.
And I can remember sometimes we'd sit in the green room where it was like our common room, if you call it, where you'd be hanging about if you were filming and you were not in a scene or something. And we would, like Paul Usher, we would all have like bets on us to, who do you think, which big celebrities, right? Who do you think would want to be in it next, and that kind of thing. So it's funny, but things like that are just coming back to me. It's funny. Yeah.
It's a wonderful compliment, though, isn't it, to have all those celebrities? Because I think one thing I will say about Brookside is it definitely had, well, I personally think it did. I'm sure lots of other people would agree. It definitely had street cred because the likes of Paul Usher, I know he'd appeared in like NME magazine and stuff, which was quite unheard of for like, an actor.
It did have
a soap actor.
It did have street cred, and that's what I was meaning about that kind of media connection. I would hear, you know, I'd go for a casting after I left Brookie, and you go for auditions or you cast me right, just get you into whatever. And I never watched soaps, but I watched Brookie. And
I've heard that so many times. I've been told that. Yeah, it's true.
And, it had a lot of street cred then, I think. Yeah.
It's
I think
the only one. Go on.
I think Channel 4 in general had street cred, you see, in those days, because it was the brand new channel that was so different, you know. That STV, ITV and BBC One forever. And then we had BBC Two, which was basically the arty-farty offshoot of BBC One.
Yes.
But Channel 4 was some brand new concept, which now people probably wouldn't realise. But if you were, I would say from a teenager upwards at that time when Channel 4 was launched, it was really different. You know, you think of all the things that were coming out, those late night shows and Jules Holland and what was it called again? These late night music shows and Graham Norton's early days when he was doing chat shows. So it did have a lot of street cred, and I think that's where Brookside came into that, because it's a melting pot of different stuff.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Hard hitting as well, wasn't it? So
yeah.
Like a lot of dramas on Channel 4. I mean, it's changed ways a little bit over the years, Channel 4.
Gosh, yes. Yeah. But, even thinking back, even from a point of view of all the good American stuff, like the Frasers and the Friends and all those things, it was all Channel 4.
Yeah. And the Golden Girls. I used to love Channel 4 on a Friday night. It used to be Brookside,
Channel 4.
Golden Girls, all that.
Graham Norton's chat show, whatever.
Yeah. Drop the Dead Donkey, I think it was called. And there was... Whose Line Is It Anyway? Is that what it was called? That Clive Anderson? I might be thinking of something else. No, it was an improvisational show where they had to stand up and do improvisation.
No, it was and all those things, and you had some brilliant American drama series, and you had all these things. So it was very groundbreaking at that time.
Definitely.
Yeah.
God, loads to talk about, isn't there? So, well, are you ready for question 9?
Yes.
Because, hang on, let me just check. So I have to write these questions down. I should have marked them off because I always lose my spot when I'm doing it. So,
silly.
Yeah, because I know, like all the characters in Brookside, you're in your own little bubble. We have discussed this already, really, but yours being with Pat and Kate. But obviously, I think you've already answered this. You did get to mingle a little bit with like the likes of Amanda Burton, Ricky Tomlinson, John McArdle, etc. Yeah, you did get that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know there's a few actors that would come on, and obviously they were in their own little bubble, and I think you'd meet in the canteen or something like that, and then you'd be back to your own base or something, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah. No, I worked with Amanda and Ricky and Sue and Sheila and all the boys and Anna Keeney. Yeah, I think I did scenes with everybody, and then you would have the guest actors coming in as well. I just never thought of it being a bubble of just Pat. Pat.
No, I mean, I'm not. I suppose, yeah.
But I can understand other story. I can understand other people, like family. If it was a bigger family, I can see that there would be more of a bubble.
Yeah, the Collinses were a bubble, but yeah, I suppose because you weren't a family, you were all, so you would mingle.
The Grants were initially quite a bubble. I think that spread out quite well. Obviously, you know, I can't remember their name as a family, but, you know, John and Kate and Justin.
Billy, Doreen and Tracy, yeah, and Rod.
What was their name in it again? What was their family name in it again?
Corkhill.
Corkhills, yes.
Yeah, they were the first generation of Corkhills.
The first generation Corkhills.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we were youngish characters who all were meant to have our own personality. So you kind of couldn't not have us all having our own storylines.
Yeah.
I personally, if I was to be brutally honest, don't feel that the Pat Sandra storyline I'm not sure if it should really have ever happened.
What, you mean them being together?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
It was quite interesting what Sandra said to Pat in the final scene that I sent you. I don't know if you watched it. It was your final scene. And you basically, David Easter was crying, you were crying, and basically you were saying to Pat, oh, we weren't really in love, we were just together.
Yes, yes.
Is that how you felt the characters were?
Yeah, I mean, in fairness to them story-wise, to be fair though, they did make it obvious in the storyline that we got pushed together because Kate had died and, you know, that kind of thing. So, yeah, and in that respect, I can understand why they made that a storyline. Yeah, and I suppose you could say that, you know, that's quite common that people can be pushed together in those kind of environments. Yeah, so... I
mean, was there anything other besides that you felt wasn't in line with your character?
Not really. It was quite funny because I got a bit of license because of the way it was written. Obviously, a vast majority of the characters were Liverpudlians or whatever.
Yeah.
And occasionally I would say to the writer, the director, there's no way a Glaswegian would say that.
Yeah.
So I think once I established that, Jimmy and the rest of them would know to tweak it a wee bit.
Yes.
But there was never anything, I wouldn't have questioned it because I was just I realised how lucky I was to be in it. So
you were eager and you were hungry as well.
Yeah, and I was very lucky to be in that, and you know, to get that experience at that age, churning out television week after week. You know, sometimes you'd be sitting in the toilet seat, knowing you to film a scene in 10 minutes, and going,
yeah,
you know, and that's a brilliant learning curve, you know. So yeah, no, very lucky. I was very, very lucky.
Well, saying that, I'm very interested to hear your next response to this, because obviously you left Brookside we saw you the last in September 1986. Touching scene with you and David Easter, as I just said. Were you happy with the way that your character left?
No.
Oh, okay, because there's quite a few actors that say they're not very happy. I think Brookside's notorious for very sort of like low-key exits and not...
I wasn't unhappy about her leaving and moving away to Edinburgh somewhere with, I think it was Edinburgh she ended up going to. I was not happy about them giving her a new boyfriend who wasn't the strongest of characters. And I always felt that the character that was portrayed as a new boyfriend, she would never have fancied, she would never have run off with. A lot of them, the argument was, yeah, but you needed to have somebody like that because she'd been through the hitting and the getting knocked about and all that. I personally, because he had created this strong feminist character, and I find quite a lot over the years, women will say to me about that my character, she should just have got in her little yellow car and driven off
on her own,
without a boyfriend in tow.
Yes.
And you know, it's the way it is, and it's no big deal.
Why you have to pair them up as a, you
know? Yeah, I mean, I never lost sleep over it, but I just always remember thinking.
Because Sue Johnson was like that, because obviously after Ricky Tomlinson left, she said she never quite felt the same without Bobby with her side, because Sheila got with Billy by John McCardle's character, and I hadn't questioned it before, but obviously Sheila was very religious and stuff, so I'm not sure she would have actually remarried, because it goes against her Catholic faith, and that's what she said. And, but she, against the odds, they did make me believe it, because as you said,
they did, because they were such good actors, absolutely, and got good, you know, good scripts. And that was probably the one thing I remember thinking, could you not just have had her get in a car and drive away? it was just slightly deflating.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Of course.
But yeah, but it's a long time ago now. So.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that was a good final scene. So, oh yeah, just a bit of nostalgia. Just looking back on your Brookside days, which is your favourite scene or scenes? You can pick more than one, that really stand out in your mind now. And I presume I think I know what you're going to say, but go on.
If I was to pick three, they would be that very first scene with Bill Dean, because
yes.
it was just gobsmacking to see cameras and see myself knowing that I was going to be in something that was going to be out and whatever.
Watched by millions.
Yeah, that was a pinch me moment. And then obviously elements of the siege. I can still remember lying in that bed taped up with John with a gun at my head and thinking, I can't believe this is happening. I'm so lucky.
Yeah.
And there's a scene I did that I was very proud of, and it was after Kate had died, very, very soon after Kate had died, and they had taken us over to, I'm not sure whose house it was. It was one of the other houses that they had taken us in because, you know, we didn't want to be in the house.
Yes.
We were meant to be in. And I remember I am in a bedroom and I'm sitting on a kind of dresser thing. And I had to do this monologue where I would need to cry and everything and be very, very, it was a long monologue. And I remember...
I find that out now. I'll have to find that one out.
And I remember being very proud of that and thinking, I felt like I'd really acted in it, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah. Major mark.
So that's something that stayed with me. I think it was one of the first times I realised that I was very good at crying on cue. So that's always been a good one to have in the CV.
Yeah, absolutely. Some people have to have those, what they call them when they make you cry. Yeah. So, oh, that's really good. So you always refer back to that then when you were trying to do a crying scene or something?
Yeah, but the negative thing about it, unfortunately, is, and any actor will tell you that unfortunately quite often you have to go to quite a dark place to let the crying happen.
Yeah.
So you can feel like you've been wrung through a ringer by the end of it. But yeah, I don't know why that scene always stood out for me. And I think partly was because my character was such a shouty character that this was very underplayed that I had to do. And I thought, oh, okay, I managed to do that. So I was quite proud of it.
Yeah, great stuff. Okay. Well, I mean, of course, now we're going to move on from Brookside now, because after leaving Brookside, of course, you had a major role in the classic police drama Taggart, and you were featured on the cover of TV Times. So had you left Brookside to do Taggart, and over the course of the Taggart's long run, you'd actually played 3 different characters, it says on your IMDb. So is that right? Yeah,
I mean, Taggart, basically in '86, Taggart I was in Taggart 5, the 5th Taggart series. Now, Taggart had become a massive hit. 3 1-hour episodes, 17 million people were viewing it. Partly because of Mark McManus, who had a backstory. I mean, he'd been in a lot of brilliant drama series in his time. And it was amazingly, and so it was a kind of, they both kind of happened, you know, I was leaving and this came along, and it was a massive storyline, lead role in a major networked series. And so I was very lucky to have that, and you know, kind of kept the momentum going. Taggart continued till 2010, 2011. Eventually what happened was it became an hour-and-a-half episode instead of 3 1-hour episodes.
I remember that.
Yeah, the second one I did in 93. Mark was really unwell at that stage, and he died not long after that. And then it was before Alex Norton came in. So then the third one I did was in 2000, which I had a pretty massive storyline in. But the joke of jokes, and particularly in Scotland, is there's not a half-decent actor out there that's not been at least 2 Taggarts. So do you see what I mean?
Yeah, so it's good.
From 86 to 2010 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Good chance you'll be in more than 1 Taggart.
Yeah.
And I managed to spread them out over 7, so 777. The thing about that first one I was in, that was called The Killing Philosophy.
Wow.
It was just one of the ones where there was about this bowman, the Glasgow bowman and all that. And it just became an iconic one, if you understand what I mean.
Yes.
You know, I mean, some Taggarts will be remembered more than others, just like some episodes of some will be remembered more than others.
Yeah.
So it was just always seen as quite an iconic one. And maybe it was because it was still quite early days and they were getting these massive viewing figures.
It was, wasn't it? Yeah.
So that was, and that was an era when you got filming over like 3-4 months and you got paid brilliant money and you got gorgeous clothes to wear and everybody was happy bunnies. And then the men in suits came in, and as the years have gone on in any walk of life in television particularly, you know, everything's got to be done for a quarter of the budget than it used to be done. And, you know, everyone's got to work 10 times harder. But that's life. I think that's true of so many professions now.
Yeah.
But that was a halcyon time at STV. You know, they suddenly, it put STV on the map as far as major drama output, you know.
Yeah.
For quite a long time. And I jokingly as well, I always say that the main players in Taggart are worth a few bob, because when I see the amount of repeat fees I've had over the years from either the cassettes or the DVDs or the program being repeated, but it's been repeated so much now that you get a repeat fee of like 45p for an episode of Taggart is shown in Latvia or something like that.
Rennie Krupiniski was actually talking about that, saying he still gets royalties from a program he was in called Secret Army from the late 70s, from like, you know, he had like something like 20p from Zimbabwe or something.
Yeah, and it costs more to stick the stamp on the envelope than anything else, you know. It's funny. Yeah, so that was brilliant. That was amazing. Yeah.
And it's such, like you said, it's such an iconic series. I mean, you've been in quite a few iconic series, haven't you?
Yeah, I have, I suppose. I mean, I've been doing this for 41 years and I've had some great highs and I've had lows like anyone else. And when I look back now, particularly in this last year, and taking into consideration, in the middle of all that too, I had my gorgeous daughter who's now 26. And my husband, he was he was a buyer in Iraq. We had shops for 20 years. And
I've got a question for you for that.
Clothing shops, and you know, I love creating things. I've got an Etsy page and I love doing this, and I've not, you know, when times are tough you just find other ways to make money. But when I look back at everything I've done, you know, I've been in theatre, I've been in pantos, I've been in iconic adverts like Iron Brew adverts, Waitrose adverts. I've been in award-winning films. I've been in short films that I've won awards for. I've been in Heartbeat, Emmerdale, Doctors.
Doctors, yeah. Making
Doctors, yeah. Oh, God.
I do have a question for you about Heartbeat, actually.
Yes.
Yes, of course. You know what I'm going to ask, don't you? Because he's one of my favourite actors, Stephen Graham, because he was very young in that episode, wasn't he? So,
well,
did you get to work with him much?
It was called Riders in the Storm. It was January 93, and it was all about a big train crash happened. And it was the time when Nick Berry and Niamh Cussat and everything was in it. And I hadn't really thought about this, because you don't watch things, but last year, 2 years ago, I wanted to update my show reel, you know, so I was going through lots of old footage, and the Heartbeat episode came on. I better just watch it, see if there's anything in this that's still relevant. And I went, oh my God, it's Stephen Graham and me, you know, and it was like, you could only have been about 20, I think. Yeah. And I just thought, bloody hell. Look, you know, you could tell even then, and then your mind
had something good about, we
did have a lot to do together in it, but I remember thinking, he's going places, you know, that way you just think.
And you were right. You were right. Yeah,
and then the other laugh, bearing that in mind, is around that time as well, God knows why it had gone out my head, but the episode of Doctors I did in 2009, so it's whenever 11 whatever years ago now, because with things like Doctor's You, you get a guest episode storyline. And I was to come in to play quite an extensive part to play in the episode, but I had to play the mother of my son had died, and it was his funeral and everything. But they had, the way they were filming it was the actor would kind of come into rooms that's like, oh my God, he's watching over and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, it was only when it clicked again, I went, oh my God, I'd forgotten that. Because we actually ended up, because he was dead, not having a scene together. It was Sam Heughan who, not long after that, went on to become Jamie in Outlander.
Yeah.
So it was just so funny, and I just remember thinking. So I remember at the time posting it. I've just realised I actually played Sam Heughan's mum, but he wasn't. So there are those moments, and he was lovely. That's why I'm saying that as well, because obviously we had lunch together and you were hanging about in the Winnebagos between shots and all that. And I was thinking what a lovely young guy he was. And I think he'd been in Doctors for quite a while with a big storyline, a few months or something. Yeah. And I remember thinking, you're a big handsome guy, you're quite a good actor, and I think I can see you going places. So it just shows you, doesn't it?
And your instinct was right as well.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Well, just want to mention it because because this was very important. Because in between filming Taggart, you starred in the Screen 2 comedy film Shadow on the Earth, directed by Chris Bernard, and he's from Liverpool too. So what was it like working with him? Just wanted to mention that because that was quite a big film.
Yeah, Chris Bernard is one of the nicest people you ever meet. I'm still in close contact with him. Chris had directed very early episodes of Brookie before I was there. And I remember when I joined Brookie, his name was mentioned so much because that was the era when he was making Letter to Brezhnev.
Yes.
So in 87, David Kane, who is a Scots guy who has gone on to become a huge screenwriter, created this film called Shadow in the Earth, set in the early 60s, 61, taking on board everything from his sort of the mining villages in Bathgate, about man going into space. The most glorious, glorious film to this day, is the best thing I've ever been in, more or less. And it was beautifully shot by now one of the top cinematographers in the world, and Chris directed it. It was basically called a BBC to Screen 2 film.
Yes.
If it had been made 20 years, even 15 years later, it would have been a film.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I mean? It would have been in cinemas, it would have been a film.
Yeah.
And, I had the kind of lead in it. Well, the two wee boys were really the lead in it. And Billy Hartman, who was then in Emmerdale for years, played my husband. And and these two glorious young boys who were basically in real life the writer David and Billy, because they'd grown up together. So Shadow in the Earth won awards, and in my opinion, I wish to God it could still be repeated on television, because it is if it was on telly now, it would still hold up the test of time. Beautiful.
I need to watch that properly. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful film. And so that, and I don't often get to do period stuff. And so just the fact that it was 61, and it was just, I loved it. Absolutely loved it. And Chris is a glorious director.
I'm hoping to get him on at one point.
Oh, please get him on.
Yeah.
Because I know Justin's still in touch with him as well. So
yes, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, he's a lovely guy. An absolutely lovely, lovely guy with a lot of stories to tell. Yeah.
Great. Okay. Well, just a quick one about, because I have to mention this, just because we spoke about this just before we were on air, Hale Pace, because you did quite a few episodes of that. Yeah. We were talking about how controversial, by today's standards.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny with that, because before we came on air, and I was saying to you that, from the early days, I didn't necessarily do masses of comedy, but I did pantos, and I did a series in the well-known series in the early 80s that was very much a Scottish thing called Scotch and Rye, so basically what I would say to you is there were some very famous variety early doors with Jimmy Logan, Ricky Fulton, Jack Leroy. These were all iconic Scots variety actory, the whole thing. And I was
in a Carry On film.
Yes, and so I was at the tail end of, I was at the beginning of my career when they were still established, and learned some incredible stuff about just watching them when I was in Pantos and stuff, about timing and everything. So then obviously with Brookie and all that happened. And then in 91, I just ended up doing 91, 92, and 93. I ended up doing Hale Pace. And I wasn't in it very much, but that's the thing about these things. You wouldn't be in a
punchline in the scene.
But you wouldn't be in a lot of it because they would need to use lots of different people for different things. And of course, most of the time it was just the two of them doing what they did anyway. Yeah. But I remember we filmed live in front of a live audience, which is extremely difficult because if it's comedy and you're the feed, because it's about them, it's their show. If you don't get it right, and you have to go again, the audience will never respond in the same way as they do the first time. So it was very, very nerve-wracking. But they were lovely guys. I mean, really, really nice guys. And when you showed that again, I hadn't seen that forever. And I thought, oh my God, I actually got the punchline in that.
Yeah, and it was quite an unexpected one as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm from an era and, that 70s, 80s, an awful lot of things happened when you were working that should not have happened, and the Me Too movement was well overdue. And yes, maybe a lot of what they did you wouldn't get away with now. But on the other hand, I see stuff on the internet and what young people are up to now, and all the social media and everything, and you think, it's not perfect now either. And so I had the strength by that stage in my career. I was 33, 34 then, to know that I would have challenged. I don't know if I'd have done it if there was things I really wasn't happy to do.
You weren't happy with them.
But I just remember them as being lovely guys. And it's funny how eventually Gareth went on to do quite a lot of character parts, and Norman ended up doing so much in the West End as a musical theatre actor,
I know. I was going to say, is it Gareth Hale? He did Family Affairs. I think he went into a soap. Yeah.
And Norman did, I think the first time I remember was he was in Chicago. He played the husband in Chicago and stuff. But no, they were just lovely, really lovely guys. And they were massive at that time.
Oh God, they were brilliant.
Yeah, they were massive at that time.
One other comedy series. What was the comedy series? Because it was quite an iconic Scottish comedy series, wasn't it?
The Scotch and Rye?
Yes, that's it. Yeah. Where was that again?
Scotch and Rye was created in the early 80s at BBC Scotland as a vehicle for Ricky Fulton, who the thing about people like Ricky and Jimmy and Jack and Johnny Beattie, punters down south wouldn't have known who they were. People like Chip Murray became household names because he was in Gregory's Girl and stuff like that. I think once if they appeared in something that was either a film or something networked, but in general, people like Ricky Fulton were gods in Scotland, but not necessarily known out with Scotland.
Yeah.
But Scotch and Rye was very innovative of the time, and it was very much his vehicle. The sketches obviously were all kind of around him, but his two sidekicks, I mean, there was quite a few, because people like David Heyman went on to be a really good actor. He's a brilliant actor and very much a director and stuff as well. And Gregor Fisher ended up making his name as Rabsy Nesbitt. Yeah. And Tony Roper, he was Rab's sidekick in Rabsy Nesbitt, but Tony went on quite a successful theatre stage writer and stuff as well. So I mean, it was brilliant for me because I was 24 and I was doing, when I look back at it now, well, I was feeding the lines to him, and he was not the greatest of guys, Ricky, and he took no prisoners. Maybe it was just the joy of youth, but that also always was filmed in front of a live studio audience.
So you had to get on there.
That was probably my first experience. I'd obviously been in theatre.
Yeah.
But that would probably be my first experience of as if you were in a theatre, but you were filming it. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, well, coming to the last question, because I'm dying to hear about this. I'm just going to be really, really nosy now, because I know you've explained that from the mid-90s onwards, your life changed a lot because you had a clothes shop. Was it a clothes shop, did you say?
We had 3 clothes shops, yeah. I mean, I did all the buying and stuff. I didn't really work in them all the time because I was still working, but that was all kind of going on. And Kate was born in 94, and I was a bit of an older mother, and I really wanted to be with her. You know, in her, it was very important to me not to be away all the time.
Yeah, there's a lot of traveling involved, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, I did still go away and film things. Like I did a sci-fi series called Invasion Earth, written by Jed Mercurio.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was pre-Line of Duty. So things like that, yeah. But it was I wasn't throwing myself about because I wanted to be with Kate. So yeah.
Okay. Well, I know that we postponed this interview from a couple of weeks ago because you had some work on. Now, are you able to tell us about this? I'm just being nosy now. Are you able to tell us about this work? Well, there's a film called The Last Bus, isn't there, coming out?
Yeah, I mean, I've been really lucky in the last year and a half. I mean, things have really... I did a couple of short films, and I was in the Waitress advert and this advert and that advert, and I did The Nest, which was a BBC Scotland production with Martin Compston, and I filmed... It was a pinch me moment. It was actually November 2019 I did my filming. Timothy Spall had this film called The Last Bus. So my scenes were with him and Gillis McKinnon, who's a wonderful director. And that film in normal life would have been out by now. Phillips Logan, all these kind of people in it.
Because of all the restrictions and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, well, I think it's now going to be, as far as I'm aware, it will be coming out May, June, July time, I think, called The Last Bus. So it's a feature film. Wow. That had happened, The Nest had happened, and then we went into lockdown, and like everybody else, I'll probably never work again. And then I embraced modern technology for the first time in my life. I learned to Zoom, I learned to audition, do self-tapes, buy lights, do everything. And I think possibly too, because maybe not many actresses of my age are prepared to do that now. Yeah. That I began to get, you know, and I've been doing a lot of theatre things, ended up being done online. So I was doing, you know, paid work like monologues and all that stuff, finding new ways, like all these things you see like the National Theatre, I mean, finding new ways to do work, but on digital.
Yeah.
So, I can't tell you what either really is.
I'm only joking.
They're both BBC things, and one is one is a comedy thing, and hopefully might go further, and the other is a children's thing. So
there's a lot of exciting things on the go at the moment.
I'm really excited because I feel like I've come full circle. 1 minute it's a bit of comedy, the next minute it's a children's thing, the next minute I'm doing a serious monologue about a woman's husband's dying, the next thing it might be me creating, I've been doing quite a lot of writing and stuff. So one of the nicest compliments I was paid recently was a writer, a lovely person who had originally been a very successful actress, spent many years in Liverpool, although she's a Glasgow girl as well, in my age, who's now a very successful writer. I don't want to mention her name, but she writes for lots of really major television and film and stuff, major stuff. And I ended up getting this government COVID advert about facts, and you need to do this. My bit was about cleaning your hands, and C is for cleaning again and again.
Oh, and yes.
It was never off the telly here because it's a Scottish government advert. And it was as if I had suddenly been reinvented. And I remember she said to me, what I admire about you, Sheila, is after 41 years, you still are trying and often successfully doing what you've always loved to do.
Yeah.
And I was accepted to do history at university and knew I wanted to be an actor. And my dad always said, I can't imagine you doing anything else. And my friends say that. And so I'm quite proud of that, you know, that through all the ups and downs, I'm still managing to dip my toes in the water, so to speak. So,
and getting lots of satisfaction and your fingers in different pies as well.
Yeah,
that's like what I'm calling it, describing it.
Yeah, I think too now, just because of age and whatever, it doesn't matter anymore. Do you understand?
It doesn't matter. Keep going. Life is life, is what I say.
The minute anybody stops thinking it matters, is the minute you start enjoying your life.
Yes.
And that's what I've done.
Yes.
Because, you know, from that point of view, from a nice personal life, you know, with my partner, my husband, my daughter. So I think an agent, when I had a London agent, she once said to my previous London agent, she once said to me, what I love about you, Sheila, is you don't have a pole up your backside. You're not going to be one of these 50 plus actresses who's never married, never had kids, never done any of that because it was all about the acting. Well, it's not all about the acting.
Yeah.
Not at all. Not at all.
So, well, I can't wait to find out about this new series as well, and the kids series. I know you can't say anything about it, but I look forward to The Last Bus as well.
It's not, I've not got masses to do in it. It's not like I'm like...
No, it doesn't matter.
But it's exciting. It's just nice.
It's great news, and it's still good to have it all these years later, to have it all still on the go for you as well.
Yeah.
So, well, Sheila, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk. I hope you've enjoyed it, by the way.
I have very much. You've been the most charming interviewer.
Thank you.
Very relaxing. I also think that there's something very positive about the Zoom stuff, actually, because you could be sitting in your jammies and nobody really knows.
Exactly. I liked what Gabby Glaister once said. She said, it's not like a real interview. It's like having a chat with somebody down the pub. I kind of like that idea. I was like, oh, yeah, just drink away and feel relaxed with me.
Well, it's been lovely. And
well, don't forget, Sheila, don't forget, it's not going to be the first time we meet, because obviously we've got the big summer Brookside reunion in July.
Yes, that'll be great.
David Easter, all being well, he said he's hoping to make it. So I take it you and David haven't seen each other since Brookside? No. So, 35 years now. So that'll be good. And Michael Stark's coming in. Lewis Henry.
Actually, I probably in the flesh haven't seen anybody since Brookie, but I've kept in touch. So it'll be very exciting to see people on screen. Yeah, very exciting. How
it's going to work out, I don't know. I think there's about 15 of you going to be on. How we're going to work it, we don't know. But I'm going to speak to somebody who's going to give me some advice on that, because I can imagine it'd be mayhem, everybody talking on Zoom and stuff. But we'll find a way. It'll be funny. It'll be funny.
It's that you start learning of somebody said, mute yourself and get the hand emoji up, and everybody's getting his hand emojis up, because that's the thing, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh. Well, Sheila, it's been lovely. What I shall do now is, in a few hours' time, I shall put it onto my YouTube channel, and I'll send you the link as well for it. And then we'll chat again very, very soon.
Okay, you take care, Ian.
You take care. Keep in touch, and good luck with the, with everything that's going on at the moment. And I'll speak to you very soon anyway about this reunion.
Okay.
Look forward to that. And you've been a brilliant guest, Sheila. So thank you very much for that. Really appreciate it.
Okay, I'll go and finish my gin.
Yeah, go and finish your gin. Good night, then I'll speak to you very soon.
Bye.
Good night, everybody. Good night. Bye. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Oh, end the meeting.